Hi guys, welcome. In this video, I am going to walk you through exactly what you need to do to learn Flight of the Bumblebee. Now, Flight of the Bumblebee is a super popular piece on the flute, and if you search it on YouTube on other instruments, you'll probably find a whole bunch of videos come up. I've even seen videos of people playing it on the tuba, which is absolutely insane. And it's just, one of those iconic classical pieces that I guess everyone wants to know how to learn. So today in this video, I'm going to show you in 4 easy steps, easy-ish, obviously like Float of the Bumblebee is not like the easiest piece ever, but we're gonna break it down into 4 steps that you can follow to learn this piece, or honestly learn any other fast piece. The nice thing about these 4 concepts is that they apply to any fast music that you're playing. So Stars and Stripes, something by Gobert, something else that's got a lot of flute runs in it, all of these kind of tidbits are going to come in handy. So before we get down to business, housekeeping, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment, give a like if this video ends up being helpful for you. It really just helps us know who's watching this, what do you need help with? What did you gain from this video? All of the comments that you guys leave, no matter what they are, suggestions, questions, compliments, criticisms even, it all helps us make a better channel for you. So make sure that you write to us below. Now, let's get into it. The first step to learning Flight of the Bumblebee is to make sure that you have a really good edition. You don't want to be reading off of something that isn't actually the music. So I'm actually going to show you how to find it for free online right now. So this is flutetunes.com, and basically what you're going to do is type in the search bar here. Press enter. And it looks like this came up right away. It says flute solos. I'm just going to click on that. And then the place to find the PDF would be where it says download printable score. And there you go. This is a pretty good version. As far as finding a free version goes, this is, I think, the fastest way to find one, and it's also pretty good. The layout is good, it's readable, it's not scanned weirdly, and it doesn't have any extra notes or anything like that at the beginning. Okay, so once you have your music and you have a pencil, you have it printed out, or you have it on your iPad with an iPad pen or whatever, we're ready to move on to step 2. So step 2 is going to be to practice your chromatic scales. Now, if you have practiced your chromatic scales before, great. We're going to be focused on building up speed and making sure you're using a good tone and all of that kind of thing with your scales. And if you haven't played your chromatic scales, I'm going to show you how to get started with that. So the reason you want to practice your chromatic scales is because the opening of Flight of the Bumblebee, and honestly, most of the technique throughout the piece, is just your chromatic scale. The whole point, actually, of practicing scales for our instrument is so that you can play pieces like this. For example, if you spend hours over, a couple of weeks practicing your chromatic scales at all different tempos with different dynamics, starting and ending on different notes, by the time you get to actually play the Flight of the Bumblebee, you will have likely already practiced a lot of the runs in the piece just from practicing your chromatic scales. This is actually something that I heard James Galway say in a masterclass once. The Galways, the 2 of them came to do a masterclass in Rochester, and I played in it. This was like, what year was it even? I don't know. At least, oh God, maybe it was like a decade ago. 2018? 2017? No, I think it was like 2015. I don't know. Brain fart. But anyway, James Galway is somebody who practices scales and long tones and all of that a whole lot. He spends like most of his practice session doing scales. And then when it comes to actually playing the music, he's already practiced the technique so much, it's a lot easier to play. So you're going to do that with Flight of the Bumblebee. So a good way to practice your chromatic scales is to do it in 1 or 2 octaves. And when you're doing this, you always want to make sure that you're using a metronome and you are keeping a very consistent tempo. So, oh, my student set mine to 500. We don't need it to be that fast. So I'm going to set it to just a reasonable tempo. It can be anything you want. Here, this is 76. I'm just going to practice my chromatic scale in 2 octaves. Now, as you play these more and more, I want you to increase the tempo and change up the rhythms. For example, maybe instead of just doing 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and like that, maybe next you do triplets. Da 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 da. And then mix it up even more and do quartets. I almost said 16th notes. So 4. You get the idea. So practice your chromatic scales like that. If you want quicker results with Flight of the Bumblebee, just start and end on E, because literally the opening of Flight of the Bumblebee is just the chromatic scale starting on E. That was just the chromatic scale. It might have gone down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up a little bit, but essentially it was just a chromatic scale. So that is step 2. Practice your chromatic scales, and here we go for step 3. So step 3 is to learn how to flutter tongue. Now, flutter tonguing is when you make sort of a distorted flute sound using your mouth. And the most common way to flutter tongue is to roll your R's and play flute at the same time. So it'll sound like this. And when you do it on the flute, it sounds like this. Basically, that happens in Flight of the Bumblebee. The flutter tonguing, let me actually draw that out. When you see the flutter tongue, it looks like this in the music. It's like a note that's got all these cross slashes on it. That means that you flutter tongue. Now, if you need help with flutter tonguing, I actually have a whole tutorial on flutter tonguing that you can watch so you can learn how to do it. Flutter tonguing is one of those things that is really, really hard at first. For example, when I first started doing it, I could only do it for like a second, and then I just lost all of my air and my tongue just stopped working and all of that. And I could only do it on certain notes. But then as I kept practicing more and more flutter tonguing, I built up those muscles in my tongue and my mouth, and now I'm able to do it on all of the notes. So at first it's really hard, but it gets easier, and I highly, highly recommend that you check out the flutter tonguing tutorial I made, because I show you exactly how to practice it. So that is step 3. So we only have 1 step left. The last step to learning Flight of the Bumblebee is probably the most time-consuming one, but it is to practice slowly in chunks. So I like to call this chunk practice. When you are playing your music, pick out like a line or maybe 2 lines and draw brackets around them. And that day when you practice, I only want you to practice that chunk. You don't want to spend your practice session just playing the piece all the way through over and over and over again. That's not really going to help you very much, because you need to be able to do detailed practice. Detailed, slow practice in a small area is so much more beneficial to your technique than just playing through the whole piece. So what I would do first is select that section, get a metronome out, and start playing it slowly. So if you want to practice the opening that comes right after the chromatic scale, you might start at a super slow tempo like this. There you go. As you do that, listen to your fingers, listen to your sound, listen to your intonation, and make sure things are sounding really, really good. When things are sounding really, really good, you can increase the tempo and go faster. That slow tempo and slowly increasing the speed for those little sections is going to make your technique in those sections really, really clean, because as you speed it up, your fingers were already clean. Now, this is such a useful way to practice fast fingers. I actually have another training that I recommend. It's my Faster Fingers class. It has helped now 50 or so Woodwind Academy members have downloaded this class and found it really useful. I have the link for that below. It basically just walks you through my exact process for learning fast passages super cleanly. So if you need a little bit extra, if you feel like after this video you're going to your practice room and you're practicing and you're just getting stuck on like the E's and the high F sharps and random notes that you just can't really clean those up, go ahead and check out my Fast Fingers class, which I am putting in the comments. I highly, highly recommend it. It's helped a ton of people, and the video is like much longer than this one. So I'm just going to drop that in there and let you enjoy it if you would like to. So that is the last step to learning Flight of the Bumblebee. Once you have done all of those things and taken time to go through and practice slowly all of these different sections, you can put it together. So that's that. Thank you guys for watching. If you want another tutorial on Flight of the Bumblebee, this is not sponsored, but Katie Flute actually has a really awesome video on, I think it's called like learning the Flight of the Bumblebee in 90 minutes. I don't know, I'll link it at the end of this video. But that's like a really awesome video, and you get to kind of watch her go through the different ways to practice and watch her learn it in real time. So I found that really useful, and she talks about a lot of the same concepts that I did, because they're good flute learning concepts. So go ahead and check that out. And just a reminder that if you want to learn how to flutter tongue, the link to my flutter tonguing tutorial is in the comments. And thanks for watching. We'll see you around.